I swore back in 2022, after I did a year-long membership program based on my book Haggitude, for women kind of menopausal roughly, that I would never, ever do that again. So that went well. I really didn't intend to. I thought I was just going to sit at my desk and write books forever, but it just seemed, how these things just grow in you if you're willing to listen. Mm-hmm. To whatever, we can talk about whatever it is, whatever is prodding you. And it began to feel more urgent. I would say it sprang up from an exploration I made probably just over a year ago, Christmas of 2024, that would have been, where I was very concerned about a new thing that seemed to be happening in the world, which was the conversion of a lot of men to highly traditionalist and right-wing forms of Christianity. Orthodoxy particularly. Now, orthodoxy, for clarity, doesn't have to be uber-traditionalist and right-wing, but, we were talking about, just to name names for this, we were talking about Martin Shaw and Paul Kingsnorth, for example, here in the UK, people with whom I've long had a relationship. And I was concerned about this because it seemed to exclude women, because it did seem to involve them in a very right-wing circle. And that whole business of it came in the context of a very clear, certainly in this part of the world, and I suspect in yours too, a very clear movement towards a search for meaning. As a consequence of just like, we were talking before we pressed the pause button about enshittification of like social media, I would say the enshittification of the world, certainly of the West. Yes, it's like people are just saying, okay, what are we doing? We don't seem to be doing very well. So that search for meaning, unfortunately, seemed to be pushing in the direction of traditionalist right-wing forms of Christianity, which is already a patriarchal institution that has done great harm, even though its original teachings are very beautiful. So I was just like, what on earth is going on here? Why are we seeing this move to Christianity? Why are we seeing this right-wing move? I did a lot of research into it. I read everything I could. And it just kind of seemed to me, really kind of from my own spiritual path over the years, that there was something in the pre-Christian traditions of Platonism and Neoplatonism, which fed, of course, directly into Christian thought and Judaism and Sufism in the Islamic tradition, but got kind of mangled along the way by the institutions. And I've long been studying that. And it seemed to me that, like, if we went back before the institutions, the patriarchy kind of mangled it, what could we find that was jewel-like and maybe something that would give us clues about how to live? And of course, as you will know, I know that you're a James Hillman fan too. James Hillman always said that his archetypal psychology, of which I am also a great fan, much more than Jung, I'm very much a post-Jungian, was heavily influenced by Plato and the Neoplatonists particularly. And it just seemed to me that on the one hand, you've got this ancient philosophy, which gives us a very simple, kind of jewel-like kind of cosmology, but is a little bit contemplative and tends to the intellectual. But if you marry that with practices from depth psychology, which Hillman recognized fit with these old ideas, you might actually have a kind of grounded practice for the world that we find ourselves in, which is free of dogma, free of doctrine, free of institutions, free of all of that women can't do this crap, just... So, sorry, that's a long-winded answer, and I'm not sure I've even covered the half of it, but that's somewhere to start.